Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Are you all right? Yeah. Thank you so much for coming out. It's lovely to see you. My name is Nish Kumar. I'm about to do some comedy for you. Yeah. Good. I'm glad. Good enthusiasm for 11:30 in the night. That is absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you all absolutely disregarding your own personal lives for my benefit. I really do. You've really taken the time out to spoil your Wednesday. Like, that's... I appreciate the fact that people are drinking as well. That's the great thing about it. It's like, phone needs a job. I like it. It's great. That's how you know it's a real Kumar audience. Just the willingness to leave your job at the door and get hammered and watch someone struggle through an hour of comedy. Like that. That's the real vibe that I like. They're filming this, so this is like part of a Soho theatre. They'll edit all this out, don't worry about it. This is part of the... as I'm saying that, I'm thinking they're definitely going to leave that bit in. Like, as I'm saying it, I'm thinking that. So they're gonna film it, and you know, it'll all be a great time. It'll be about an hour long. I swear to God, if we start overrunning, one of you can punch me in the face, because that will be simply too much. Like, that is a promise that I make. Not only that, if you do that and they get it on the cameras, we're going viral, baby. Oh yeah, that's viral, baby. I hope you enjoy it. I really do. If you don't, I am sorry. That will almost certainly have been my fault. It really will. 50-50. It will be 50-50, right? And that's the problem. That's the traumatic thing about doing comedy every time you go on stage. There is a chance that you might not enjoy it, because that is the nature of stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is an inherently subjective medium. No two people can agree on what's funny, so if you don't think I'm funny, that's absolutely fine. The only problem I have as a comedian is that if somebody thinks what I'm doing is not funny, it stops being comedy. And there's no other job like that. If you're a builder and you build a wall, people go, that's a good wall, or that's a shit wall. No one says, that is not a wall. You built a bloody duck, mate. What are you thinking? And I like the fact that people can have different opinions. I like that. I think that's what makes being a human being interesting. It's nice to argue and debate. I don't like it when people can't justify their opinions, or they do so on spurious grounds. Like, my dad doesn't like rap music. Now, I like rap music, but I know there's a lot of problems with rap music. Misogyny, homophobia, the needless celebration of extravagant wealth. But my dad doesn't like rap music. That does not normally get a laugh. I guess that, in microcosm, is gentrification. Like, in central London, everyone's like, we do have money. It's good to be in front of the liberal elite. My people. There's a lot of problems with rap music. A lot of problems that I, as a fan of rap music, accept. Misogyny, homophobia, the needless celebration of extravagant wealth. My dad doesn't like rap music because he says it's easy. And then he will prove that by doing a rap. He goes, rap music's a piece of business. Watch this. My name is Dad, and I'm here to say I'm a really great guy. That's not proof of anything. You can't say something's easy and your evidence is you do it badly. That's like me going, jazz music's a piece of piss. Watch this. Blah, de, blah, de, blah. Oh, check out this easy juggling. And if you have opinions that you can't justify, that's fine, as long as you acknowledge that they're irrational beliefs. We all have things that we believe that we cannot for love nor money justify. That's fine, as long as you acknowledge that it's an irrational belief. Like, I have a lot of beliefs that even I know deep down are total horse shit. Like, I think all dieting is fundamentally immoral. Yeah, clearly, I think that is an opinion I'm wearing very much openly in front of you, right? I think all dieting is fundamentally moral. Now, I know that is bullshit, right? But I still believe it. But I know that it's an irrational belief. The only reason I believe it is I think dieting is immoral, and I've always thought that ever since I read about the 5 and 2 diet, right? If you don't know what the 5 and 2 diet is, it's where you eat for 5 days, and then you fast for 2 days, and that's how you spend your week. And when I heard about that, I was like, man, I hope no one in the third world finds out we are pulling this shit, because if I lived in a famine-ravaged country and I heard about the 5 and 2 diet, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? They have so much food, they're having to take days off. Look at me. I live in the West and I need a holiday from all this dinner. And if you have irrational beliefs that you force on people, you can look stupid. Like, I was talking to someone who's quite a bit older than me, and he said, Nish, the problem with people your generation is that you're all weak. You're all a bunch of weak people. Now, no doubt, there is a good argument to be made for that. But not on the grounds he chose. Because the grounds he chose were lactose intolerance. He's like, Nish, look how you must be weak. Look how many people your age are lactose intolerant. You can't even drink milk, mate. Back in my day, I drank milk all the time. I fought milk if it crushed me. That's how tough we were. But the thing is, we know that's not how disease and discovery works. The same number of people have always been lactose intolerant. It's just now we know that that's a disease. 50 years ago, somebody would go to the doctor and be like, Doctor, I don't know what's wrong with me. I drink milk all the time and I feel like shit. What's wrong with me? The doctor would just be like... Ghosts. Like, that was it. That was their best guess. I like arguing, it's fun. I like it, it's good, it's interesting, and it's exciting. I have to stop arguing with a friend of mine, though, because he always wins, and that hurts my feelings, right? My friend always wins arguments that we have. We always have arguments because we're quite different politically. Like, he's sort of somewhat conservative, and he describes me as a no-good, limp-wristed guardianista who is not trying to piss away the legacy and traditions of this proud nation. He's trying to replace the royal family with Al-Qaeda and some gays, but... I prefer the term left-leaning, because... it's pithier, you know? And we always argue. And we were arguing recently. And the thing is, when we argue, he has this brilliant tactic where I'll say something, and then he'll just say the opposite of that, and then at the end just go, that is a fact! Really great. It's really amazing, because when he does it, I'm always like, whoa. Cool fact. Right? We were having an argument recently. He was trying to argue that free market capitalism is good for poor people, right? So he's saying all of this stuff, and he's like, the free market capitalism is good for everyone, Nish. It helps the people on the bottom of society and the people on the top of society. This is how the free market works, Nish. It is a rising tide which will lift all boats. That is a fact. And I was like, learned a fact. But then I went home and thought about it for a day, and I was like, no, that's bullshit. That is one very generous interpretation of the impact of free market economics over the last 35 years. Another is that the free market has widened social division, consolidating the people at the top of society whilst leaving the people at the bottom of society to live in poverty for the rest of their days. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to walk around saying things like, a rising tide will lift all boats, you need to add something. This is my suggestion. A rising tide will lift all boats, which is great, as long as you have a boat. Because if you don't have a boat, you're going to fucking drown. I like that. I like arguing. I don't like it when people don't even bother to justify why they think the things they think, or they don't think anything through. I know two people, right, who have never seen 12 Years a Slave. Now, I know that seems like a bit of a weird thing. I know two people that haven't seen it. Has everyone in here seen 12 Years a Slave? No? So, did you enjoy it, people who've seen it? Yeah, difficult question to answer. Very difficult. Especially, and I don't wish to be rude here, if you're white. Because if you're white and someone says, do you like 12 Years a Slave? You don't want to be too enthusiastic. You know, we're like, yeah. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. You're basically best off just being like, I think it's a very good film, I'm sorry. Like, that's your best bet. If you're white and someone asks if you enjoyed 12 Years a Slave. I know two people that haven't seen 12 Years a Slave. I don't think you have to have watched that movie, but I don't like the reasons these two people have not seen 12 Years a Slave, right? One of them said, oh, I'm not going to see that film, Nish. And I said, why not? And he said, because it's not even a good film, which I think we can all agree is logically bold. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, it's just because it's about slavery. That's why it won all those Oscars. That's why people think it's a great movie. It's just because it's about slavery. People have been guilted by the subject matter into thinking it's a good film. Now, I don't think that that's true. And I think I can prove it, because I'm pretty sure 12 Years a Slave would not be regarded the modern cinematic classic it is if it had starred Eddie Murphy as 4 different slaves and a Chinese man for no reason. And then one of my other friends said, I don't need to see that film, Nish. And I said, why not? And he said, because I already know slavery was bad. And I was like... It's not a twist ending. It's not like the whole rest of the world got to the end of that film and went, slavery was the bad guy. This is like The Usual Suspects. I love 12 Years a Slave, although when I went to see it at the cinema, and it was a sight of one of my all-time greatest faux pas, I would say, right? At the end of the film, the credits come up, and it's a harrowing, moving film, and the credits are coming up, and everyone's sort of just recovering, and there's one girl sat behind me who was still crying, and I turn around, and I realise that this girl is black, and when I realised she was black, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. She must have had some kind of personal connection to this story. I'm so moved that I got to spend this time with her at such an important moment in her cultural development. And then I realised that's the most patronising thing I've ever thought in my life. And I know it is, because I remember how I felt when people spent 6 months coming up to me going, dude, Slumdog. Slumdog Millionaire, I have tasted your pain. I love going to the movies. Like, that's one of the great things about being a comedian is that I work in the evenings, so I get to go to the cinema a lot in the daytime. And it's great, because I hate going to the cinema in the night now. I've spent too long going in the daytime. I'm too used to peace and quiet. Because when you go to the cinema in the nighttime, there's people there, they talk the whole time. I hate when people talk in the cinema. I don't understand why they do it. Why have you come out? Why are you trying to ruin everyone's experience? I'm that guy. You know the guy that always stands up and starts shushing people who are talking in the cinema? I'm that guy who sees that guy and then silently agrees with him, because I am principled but cowardly. That is the Kumar family way. If my family had a family crest, it would be a picture of a lion hiding. That's what we're like as people. Principled cowards. And we love going to the cinema. That's a big thing that happens in my family, especially between me and my dad. Like, me and my dad go and watch movies all the time. My dad refused to go. And my dad went to watch 12 Years a Slave, and he really enjoyed it. He didn't like Inside Llewyn Davis, which was a film I was really disappointed, because I thought he was going to love it, because he loves the Coen brothers. And I recommended that he go and see the movie. And the next day he called me, and he opened the phone call with, "What the fuck were you thinking?" Which is a big opening. So I'm like, "Hello, Father, how are you?" And he said, "Why did you send me to see that movie?" And I was like, "It's a Coen Brothers film. You love the Coen Brothers." And he was like, "Nish, it's about a struggling performer who looks like you." It was like someone charged me to watch my worst nightmare. And it was unusual that we didn't go and see that film together, because me and my dad go and watch movies all the time. It's like a great thing. It's really improved our relationship as we've got older. Because when I was a kid, I didn't have anything in common with my dad. I had lots in common with my mum, in that we both enjoyed judging people, but that's another story, right? But I always had that in common with my mum. But with my dad, we didn't have a huge amount in common, because my dad's a really, like, sporty guy. He's a cultured man outside of that, but he loves sport. And I think when he had a son, he thought, "Oh, great, I'll have someone to play sport with." And then he got me. Now, to give you some context for my sporting achievements, I was the first kid in my school to be put into remedial PE, okay? I was supposed to be playing rugby. They gave me a round ball because they thought I'd have my eye out on the points, right? And to give you some context for the extent of my shitness at sport, I won one award for sport my entire time at school. I used to play cricket, and at the end of every year, they would give out awards for different people in the cricket team, right? Now, all of the awards that they would give out for the cricket team were pretty self-explanatory. There was best batsman, that's the best batsman, best bowler, that's the best bowler, and then best player, that's the best all-round player. Then there was the award that I won, an award called Clubman of the Year. An award which I subsequently found out was presented on the criteria of the boy who'd shown the most enthusiasm in the face of, and I quote, "an overwhelming lack of ability." So Here he is. Haddiscombe Cricket Club's Clubman of the Year 1997. Nice to see you all. And that was what, so when I was growing up, my dad and I didn't have a huge amount in common. Then, as I got older, I really got into movies and found out he liked films as well. And so we started going to watch movies together, and we still do it all the time. And my friends are always slightly surprised, especially when I tell them some of the movies that I'm going to see with my father. Like, I went to see this movie called Giulietta, which is an Almodovar movie. It's really good, but it's quite sexually explicit. And I was telling my friend about it, and my friend was like, how could you go and see that film with your dad? And I was like, there is no problem with me going to see movies with my dad. Because my dad and I, a number of years ago, crossed a threshold that we can never return to. Because in 2012, my father and I went to see a film by the director of 12 Years a Slave called Shame. That is the sound of a bunch of people who have seen Shame. Now, if by for some reason you haven't seen Shame, let me give you a quick rundown. It is about a man with a crippling sex addiction, and it has some of the most explicit sex scenes ever committed to film, right? Now, in the week leading up to this film, I knew what it was about, so I said to my dad, there's no way I'm coming to see this movie with you, right? This will be too much, this will be absolutely awful. And my dad was like, no, it'll be fine. And I was like, no, it'll be too much. He went, no, it'll be fine. No, it'll be too much. No, it'll be fine. Eventually, I caved in. We went to see the film. As soon as the credits roll, my dad turns to me and goes, that was far too much. And I said, it was about a man with a sex addiction. What did you think was going to happen? And he said, I thought he'd get better. And there was one moment in that film which changed my relationship with my father forever. I think for the better. Now there's no discomfort, nothing we can't talk about, no experience we can't share because of one scene in the film Shame. Now, there is a scene where Michael Fassbender, who plays the lead character, is having sex with a lady. Now, Fassbender has already, within minute one, brandished his penis. And let me tell you, it is an impressive instrument. Like, he can bend some serious fass with that thing, right? It is absolutely terrifying, right? So there's a scene where he's having sex with this woman, and I'm trying to explain this in a classy way, right? She is against a window, and he's behind her, but it's not the butt one. But it looks like it might be, but it isn't. Right? And she's up against this window, and he's just behind her, having not the butt one, but it looks like it might be, but it isn't, right? I believe that's the technical position name in the Kama Sutra, right? So, he's behind her, and he's just having sex with her. Classic stuff, right? I'm trying to be as classy as possible here, people. Now, the thing that marked Shame out as an early example of what Steve McQueen has gone on to do in 12 Years a Slave is that it has lots of long, unbroken takes. Like, he likes to involve the viewer and make you physically uncomfortable. That's one of his traits as a director, right? So in this case, it is just sex and nothing on this massive screen, and it just goes on and on and on for like 3, 4, 5 minutes, and I'm just sat next to my poor father, and he's just getting more and more uncomfortable, and it's just going on, and my dad is squirming in his seat. He's so uncomfortable, and it just goes on and on and on, just sex and then a view of Manhattan, and just on and on and on, just sex and then a view of Manhattan, and just on and on and on. And after, I don't know, 25 minutes of this, my dad, something must have just broken in his head, because he just turned to me and went, I've been there. And all I could think was, I hope he means that part of New York, because... We didn't know what to call this show. It's called Nish Kumar at the minute, right? We don't know what the title's going to be. Now, there's a convention with comedians when they film you doing like an hour of your stuff to give it a name that's a pun based on your name, right? Now, I haven't done that because I thought what I'd do is just run a few of the ideas past you over the course of our time together, right? Now, As it turns out, my name is extremely punnable. So what I would say is, brace yourselves. A Nish called Wonder. Some love for a Nish called Wonder. The Kumar Sartre. A little bit of blue there. When you nish upon Kumar. And finally, Kumar, comedian. More of those later. If you're thinking, I hope that's the spine of the show, you're in luck. Oh boy, are you in luck. I was single for a long time, but I finally taken a woman. I'm almost certain that's not how you're supposed to phrase that, right? I was single for a long time, and I think I was single for a long time because I was quite sexually awkward. Like when I was at school, I didn't really kiss girls, largely because I was busy getting excellent exam results. But you know, and listen, I'll be aware that there's some people in here who did both, who got really great exam results and kissed loads of people. And to those people, let me just say this: go fuck yourselves, okay? No one likes you. You are the least popular. Look at those people clapping. Look how angry they are with you. And now I'm in a relationship, and the relationship is going well, which is good. She's a nice lady, which people always laugh at when I describe her as that. I think it's a nice compliment, but it seems weirdly impersonal, I think. She's a nice lady. She's nice. She's a solid fellow. She's a valued customer. She's really great. And the thing is, if there was one thing I could change about our relationship, it's one thing, it's very small. If I could change one thing, it's one thing, it's very small. If I could change one thing about her, it's one thing, it's very small. If I could change one thing about our relationship, it would be my entire personality. Because I think, fundamentally, that is the last obstacle to us being truly happy, right? We went on holiday in Australia, and we were in Sydney. And if you've not been, it's great. It's one of those cities that absolutely delivers on its postcard, right? And we're standing there. We're in Sydney. We're looking out over the bay. And it's really great. I'm there with my girlfriend. We've had a really great holiday together. We've grown closer together as a couple. We've had a really great time, right? See what you think about this, okay? We're standing there looking out at Sydney. I'm there with the person I'm closest to in the entire world. Now, that should be, objectively, a wonderful moment for me. This is what I thought in that moment. I just thought to myself, this will be one of those things you look back on fondly when you've broken up. Who thinks like that? Who can't experience one moment of happiness without immediately being like, that's one for the sorrow montage? That is weapons-grade pessimism. That's like somebody showing you a glass and saying, is it half empty or half full? And you going, does it matter? One day we'll all be dead. That is the kind of pessimism that would lead Morrissey to go, cheer up, little friend. You're right, that is an excellent Morrissey impression. Right? And the thing is, it surprised me when it happened. Like, I didn't think I was capable of that kind of volcanic pessimism. And I said to my girlfriend afterwards, I told her what I thought. I think I might be quite a pessimistic person. And she was like, yeah. I was like, what? And she went, yeah, me and your friends talk about it all the time. I was like, what do you mean? And she said, Nish, you are an incredibly pessimistic person. Think about the thought process that you experience every time you lose your phone, because I'm a very clumsy man and I'm very haphazard, and so I leave my phone lying around all the time. This is my girlfriend's impression of what happens when I lose my phone. She says I play a game called self-esteem dominoes, where it's like one thing hits another bunch of things until everything is on the floor. Like, that's what she says about it. This is my girlfriend's impression of what happens when I lose my phone. I can't find my phone. I've lost my phone. My parents were right. That's her impression of what I'm like. And the thing is, it surprised me. And one of the things that I've realised is that you may see yourself in a certain way, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the world views you like that at all. And I think part of the problem is that I was single for like 7 years. So in that period of time, I was under no real scrutiny. Like, there was no one really to observe what I was like as a person. So I think what I did in that time was I basically thought of a person that I would like to be and then just pretended I was that person. So I just spent 7 years being like, I'm just a really open-hearted guy. I'm so nice. I'm like sunshine. I wear my heart on my sleeve on my shirt, and my shirt on my heart. Yeah. I'm a really, really great guy. Now I'm with someone, she's like, Nish, you were none of those things. You're an introverted pessimist, and frankly, it's quite difficult to be around you a lot of the time. But for the previous 7 years, it was just me walking around going, I'm great. And the only person there was me who was going, yeah, you are. That's difficult. And I wish that you had immediate hindsight, especially about your personality. Like, I wish you could immediately see how you would see yourself in 10 years' time. I think that would be such a benefit, because it's only when I look back on the things that I've done that I've realised what a dickhead I've been, right? When I was at university, I thought I was a really cool guy. But on reflection, I was a jet-powered bellend, right? I used to wear a bandana and call people daddy-o. That is not acceptable. That is not acceptable behaviour. And when I left school, I decided that I needed a bit of a sort of personality rebrand. Because when I was at school, I was a bit of a dork. If you want to imagine me at school, just think of the phrase chocolate Frasier and take it to its logical extension, right? Just think of what chocolate Frasier might look like in real life, and that was Nish Kumar. And between school and university, I thought, well, I'll have a bit of a rethink, right? I need a bit of a rebrand. This has not been going well up till now. And the way that I decided to rebrand my entire personality was by buying a wallet. I bought a wallet. It wasn't just any wallet. It was a replica wallet from the film Pulp Fiction. Which means that it said, bad motherfucker on it. Now, in the film, that wallet belongs to Samuel L. Jackson, which is fine. It's not fine, however, as it turns out, to own a bad motherfucker wallet if you're off to Durham University to study a joint honours degree in English and history, right? That is not okay. You can have one or the other, but not both. I wish that I could know what I'm going to think about myself in 10 years. It'd be so useful. It'd be so helpful, right? Because it's only when I look back. Oh, God. I don't know if I want to tell you about this. I'm going to tell you about it, okay? But don't judge me, okay? We've established a bond of trust here. This gig is going well. I was at home, and I was going through some stuff. I was clearing out my room in my parents' house, and I found some stuff, right, that I did at school. And one of the things that I found was a project that I'd done when I was in year 9. So bear in mind that this is me when I was about 13 years old. Now, when I was in year 9, we went on a field trip to Normandy for the D-Day landing beaches as part of our history module, right? And we went around all of the landing beaches, and we went around all the cemeteries that were there, and there's the Allied cemetery and the German cemetery. We went all over there. And then when we came back, we had to do a project that summarised all of the things that we'd seen and how it had made us feel, right? And I went through the project, and there's loads of stuff from Inkatha there, which is a real blast from the past. If you don't know what Inkatha is, it's like, imagine Wikipedia, but much worse. Right? And so I was going through it, and there are loads of these stupid photos and, like, me describing the trip, and it's all very cute. And then I opened the last page, right? Now, I don't remember doing this. I must have blotted it out by some sort of shame-based amnesia. But on the last page, I had done an acknowledgement section. Now, bear in mind, this was a 23-page project for a Year 9 history class, and they had not asked for an acknowledgements page. Just an unsolicited acknowledgements page, right? Now, that already is bad. Wait until you read who I gave thanks to in the acknowledgements page. I started out small, just thanking my teachers and my parents, like the start of an Oscar acceptance speech, right? But then the last line was the worst, because the last line read like this. And finally, I would like to dedicate this project to all the brave men and women who gave their lives in the Second World War fighting for our freedom. Wait. The freedom which I have used to write this project. I think if someone who died in the Second World War read that, they would think we were on the wrong team. So awful. And the problem is, I wish that I could know now, what is the equivalent going to be in 10 years' time when I look back at what I'm like now? What is the equivalent going to be of that project? I'm really trying to work out, and I don't know what the equivalent might be, right? But it's hard. And part of the problem is that as much as I'm afflicted by various self-esteem issues, I also, at the same time, have a giant ego. Giant ego. I mean, I know you think you know I have a giant ego because of what's literally happening now. I've made you pay to sit in silence and watch me whilst cameras film for a purpose that none of us fully understands. But you have no idea the extent to which I have a giant ego. A couple of weeks ago, I was having a coffee with my friend, and as I was speaking, in my head I started thinking, well, I'm being very interesting here. I'm so interesting, I'm intellectually stimulating, I'm a great laugh. I'm jealous of people who get to meet me. That's the thing. And if you have a giant ego, you don't do things that you should do to improve yourself. Like, there's loads of stuff that I should be doing right now just to improve myself, but I'm too busy wrapped up in thinking how great I am the whole time. Like, I need to start exercising. I need to start exercising. Like, this is out of control. Thank you, one person who laughed, frankly, a little too loudly. Yes, you do. I need to start exercising. Like, I'm 31 years old. I need to start doing something. I need to start taking care of myself in some way, shape or form, right? But also, I should have been exercising for years because one of the problems that I have is I can't sleep. I have terrible insomnia. I can't sleep. Anyone in here have trouble sleeping? Listen to how tired those people sounded. Also, of course you have trouble sleeping. You're at a comedy show at 11:30. This is the last refuge of the damned, right? Now, for those of you, I'll say it, bastards who can sleep easily, right? Let me explain to you what it's like for people who can't sleep easily, right? For you, sleep is like you're standing on a shore, and sleep is just a tide that just comes in gently, and it gets closer and closer and closer until it washes over you completely and you're under and you're asleep. For people who can't sleep, getting to sleep is like you're driving to a town called Sleep and your brain is sat in the back of the car the entire time going, are we asleep yet? 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 Nish, are we asleep? Nish, are we asleep? Nish, are we asleep? Nish, are we asleep? Nish, was it Kevin Costner in Bull Durham? Nish, are we asleep? Nish, are we asleep? Nish, are we asleep? Nish, are we asleep? Nish, 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 Nish. Was it Alec Baldwin in The Shadow? Nish, 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 Nish. Nish, are we asleep? Nish, are we asleep? Nish, 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 Nish. What? I need a piss. It's horrendous. It's so difficult when you can't sleep. And when you can't sleep, it's tricky. Because you can't call in sick to work and say, I'm sorry, work, I can't sleep. Because they'll just be like, you're fired. Also, interesting element of that act out, it really gives away how long it's been since I have had a real job. Because my act out involved the phrase, hello, work. Mr. Job, Nish is very sleepy. And if you haven't slept and you have to go about your business, it sucks. Because if you haven't slept and you're just walking around trying to do a job, it's like you're in a bad Skype connection with the whole of the human race. Because people say things to you and you're frozen because you're still trying to answer a question someone asked you 15 minutes ago. So someone's like, oh, Nish, how was your weekend? And you're just like... I love 12 Years a Slave. Like, it's really tricky. And the thing is, if you can't sleep, people always have various things that they propose that can help you get to sleep. Like, what's the number one thing people say when you can't sleep?
Chamomile tea.
Hang on a second. Someone said count sheep. You said chamomile tea. Is that one?
Apparently.
Fucking, why did no one tell me? That's a really reasonable one. People People always say count sheep. That's the answer I was driving at, right? And I never understand why people say count sheep, especially if you're someone who can't sleep largely because you have a slightly overactive mind. If you tell someone with an overactive mind to count sheep, that is just a tableau waiting to be overthought. Because I try counting sheep, and after about 2 minutes, I start thinking, whose fucking sheep are these? And why is it my job to count them? I've got a degree. What kind of farmer doesn't know how many sheep he has on his own farm? He's really going to struggle. We're in a turbulent economic climate. I'm glad you said chamomile tea, because that is a sensible one. Because somebody once said to me, I asked the same question, and people said counting sheep or, whatever, like people have various techniques. And then one man, just the most confident man in the world, shouted, glass of milk and a wank. And the problem is, he did not specify what order you're supposed to do those things in. I don't know whether you're supposed to have the wank first and then drink the milk, or drink the milk first and then just have a really bloated wank, or if you're supposed to wank into the milk and then drink it like Jizzy Nesquik. I don't know. All I do know is that man is never invited round for a sleepover. It's disgusting. Nish and chips. Nish and Impossible. Nish and Impossible 2. Nish and Impossible 3. Nish and Impossible 4, Ghost Nish. Nish and Impossible 5, Rogue Nish. And then this final one is actually a suggestion from a friend of mine called Guy, and his suggestion was, some cunt for an hour. I don't think Guy really grasped the game. That's what I would say to Guy. I hope you're having a good time. You're enjoying it. You're still awake. You've done phenomenally well. We're into the home stretch now, but you've done... I'm very impressed. I permit you to come and see me again. You've done very well as an audience. I hope you're enjoying it. Hope you like it. People like it. Sometimes people don't like it. That's fine. That's the nature of the thing. I'm used to people criticising me for my comedy because I'm either funny or not funny. And that's fine, right? But I'm not used to, or I at least find it weird when people criticise my comedy and they incorporate my race into the criticism somehow. Like, a man once said to me, this is true, someone who works within the comedy industry once said to me, Nish, you need to stop mentioning your race on stage. It's like, what? Yeah, he was like, you need to stop telling people that you're not white. And I was like, first of all, they're going to notice. Like, I am not exactly flying under the radar here, race-wise. I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, yeah, you should stop saying that you're not white because somebody in the audience might be racist, but they forgot. And now you've reminded them. That's the fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm not a racist myself, but I'm pretty sure it isn't something that slips your mind. And you come and see me, I say I'm Asian, and you go, oh yeah! I hate that! Thanks for reminding me. Now get out of my country. And I'm pretty sure that even if that situation were to arise, that they were somehow forgetful racist, I'm pretty sure there is not a racist in the entire world who gets to the end of A Hard Day's Racism, which was the original title of the Beatles song, and thinks to themselves, you know what? I've done really well. I've worked really hard. I've been a good little racist boy. I need to treat myself. I need to unwind. How can I do that? I know. 1 ticket to Nish, Kumar, please. That sounds exactly up my racist alley. It's weird. People sometimes give me really weirdly specific criticism of my comedy. I was doing a gig in Stratford a couple of years ago, and this woman came up to me and she said, hello, I'm from The Guardian. Now, judging by her general demeanour, I would suggest if she does work for The Guardian, it's as their wine correspondent, because she was hammered, right? And she said, hello, I'm from The Guardian. And I said, sure. We all are on some level. And she said, you have just done a show to a room of white people. I was like, that is accurate. Also, let me just point out, she was very much of that ethnic group, right? And I said, yes. And she said, why weren't you more angry with white people? And I was like, what? And she was like, you seemed very calm. And I was like, thank you. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, how were you so calm around those white people? And I was like, because I would literally not be able to get through a single gig. Imagine what would happen if every time I walked out and saw a white person, I was like, ah! Ah! I don't know how to relate to it. I don't even like Mumford and Sons. She was like, why are you not more angry with white people? And I was like, why should I be angry with white people? And she said, well, clearly you are a little bit namaste. Now, say what you will about that, but as a piece of racism, it is almost impressive. Because I have never been racially abused by someone who had done their homework and bothered to learn some of the language of the culture they were about to abuse. This is method racism. This woman was the Daniel Day-Lewis of racism. It was absolutely incredible. And I just didn't understand what she was trying to say. Because saying the idea that assuming that because I'm not white, I should be angry with all white people is, first of all, idiotic. And secondly, it just reduces all of the complex arguments that we're going through as a people and all the differences between non-white people and white people and all the issues that non-white and minority people face. It just boils it down to, oh, they're just angry with white people. And I am not angry with what... I'm angry about certain things that white people do, but otherwise, I'll say it. White people, beyond the odd bit of imperialism, big fan. You've done some incredible work, guys. Pat yourselves on the back. I mean, come on, white people. Think about it. Vincent van Gogh. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There must be some others. But anyway... She kept asking me why I wasn't angry with white people, and eventually security managed to get hold of her and get her back to her seat, and I just snuck out, right? Now, here's how easily led I am. I was sat there having dinner after that gig thinking, maybe she's right. Maybe I should be more angry with white people. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I should be much more angry with white people. This woman reads The Guardian, I read The Guardian, that's my paper. Maybe I need to be more angry with white people. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know how that would manifest itself. I can't imagine this gig would have gone particularly well if I'd been like, what's up, you white devils? Go fuck yourselves. That's for partition. Like, I don't think that would have gone well, right? But I'm sat there, this is how easily led I am. I'm sat there thinking, maybe I need to be angry with white people. I need to be more angry with white people. I need to be more angry with white people. And then I got back to the venue because my friend was still there, and he told me that what happened afterwards was she had been forced back to her seat, then she had rushed the stage and tried to rugby tackle the comedian that had gone after me, at which point she was forcibly removed from the venue, whereupon she walked outside, pulled down her trousers and pants, and took a shit in a hedge. And when I heard that, I was like, I'm probably fine. I think I'm absolutely fine. I don't tend to take the advice of head shitters. That doesn't mean, there aren't frustrations, but you can't reduce them just to a simple thing of, like, non-white people are just angry with white people. There are things that non-white people are angry about, justifiably so. I don't like it when I have it dictated to me by a white person how I'm supposed to behave or how I should do my job. And like 10 years ago, when I was first starting in comedy, I had someone give me, I think, what is the worst piece of advice I've ever been given in my entire career. Now, if somebody had told me this now, I'd be much stronger. But at the time, I was too wrapped up in trying to make it and trying to be a comedian to not take this advice on board and not have it hurt me, right? I had an agent who was sending me up for acting auditions. And this agent came to see me do stand-up. And at the end of the gig, he said, listen, I think you should stop talking about your race on stage. Now, this guy had a much more evolved reason than the previous idiot I was talking about. I said, why should I stop saying that on stage? And he said, the thing is, it's just very passé. You know, people are expecting it. People are expecting an Asian comedian to come out and talk about being Asian. People are expecting it. You're not surprising people. If you're an Asian comedian, you're talking about being Asian, no one's surprised. I mean, I did think it'd be weird if someone else did it. It'd be really weird if just, like, a Chinese guy walked out and was like, the thing with being Indian is, right? Now, what I've discovered over the course of doing that joke is that there is a problem inherent within it. And that problem is that as soon as I say it, everyone in the audience thinks, I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see an act where a Chinese guy just maintains he's Indian for, like, 15 minutes. That sounds fucking incredible. That sounds like the plot of a Sacha Baron Cohen movie. It's great. So, at the time, I was really enthralled to this guy because I thought this guy knows the way that things work. So I said, OK, you're right. I should stop doing that. Then, the next day, an audition came in for a part. Now, the part was called Sanjay, who worked in IT and had, and I'm quoting directly from the script here, the accent. So, immediately, you know that this script, pure class, right? Now, when I got the script, I immediately phoned him up and I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. Like, there's absolutely no way. This is demeaning. This is incredibly offensive. This is so stupid. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to put myself through this, right? And he was like, this is your problem, Nish. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, you need to go along with what I'm saying. And I was like, what? I don't understand. You're the one who told me to not talk about my race on stage. And he said, no, I didn't say that. I said that there's a right way and a wrong way. What you are doing is not correct race comedy. I was like, what do you mean? And he said, it's too high-minded. No one's interested in it. You need to do race comedy in a way that's going to connect with people. You need to be less high-minded so that you could connect with the man in the factory. And when he said that, I said, I don't really relate to your paradigm of the man in the factory. I think what you're trying to say is that I should appeal to as high a percentage of the British population as possible. But in the 1980s, we switched from a manufacturing to a service-based economy. So actually, the number of people working in factories is much smaller than it is in the service sector. And what you should have said is the man who works in the shop or the man who works in McDonald's. And he said, I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, that was the last conversation I ever had with that agent. And I don't know if what I've been doing for the last 10 years constitutes correct race comedy. But I thought, as a special treat for the Soho Theatre, and because we're filming it, I thought it'd be great, as a special treat, I have prepared a theatrical piece that I call correct race comedy, right? It's very special, it's very theatrical. So I just need to turn my back for a second, have a sip of water, get into my performance zone. Okay, here we go. Correct race comedy. Here we go. Hey, white people! What's up with you guys? Everything you do? So different from Indian people? Like how you get on the bus. You know how whiteys get on the bus? You're all like, oh. Hello. Bus? Indian people, very different. Indian people get on the bus like this. Bus. Part one. Part one of three. Part two. White women, what's up with you gals? I've seen you in your gazebos. Always saying things like, oh, howdy, sir. I do declare that my name is Joanna Lumley. Indian women, very different. Indian women are just like this. Ovaries. So, part two of three. This is part 3 of 3. Football. White people love playing football, but you play it in a weird way. You play it like this. A goal. Yummy. Indian people play football very differently. Indian people play football like this. Cricket. That is a piece of material my girlfriend once described as a man having his cake and eating it too. Because as much as I'm poo-pooing that style of comedy, that is a fun dance. It's not acceptable to do the accent. You can't do the accent anymore. We've all decided that that is not acceptable. You can't do comedy foreign people accents. That's not acceptable. Apart from one ethnic group. There is one ethnic group we have no problem in doing the accent of. And that ethnic group is black women from the South of America. Because for some weird reason, no matter how liberal a person is, occasionally they'll just go, and you know mama don't like that. And you're like... How is that okay? That's definitely not okay. People have told me off. People have been like, Nish, you shouldn't do an Indian accent. It is crass, it is demeaning. And you know mama don't like that! And if you take nothing away from this evening, other than this, ladies and gentlemen, let it be this. I think we can all agree that Mama Don't Like That would definitely be the name of that Eddie Murphy remake of 12 Years a Slave. That... beyond doubt. The weirdest thing, the weirdest question I've been asked because of my race and my career is this, right? It happened a couple of years ago. The reason that my girlfriend and I were in Australia was I'd been there doing the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And the Melbourne Comedy Festival was really good fun, which is great, because I didn't think it was going to be. Because before I went to Melbourne, there was an incident. Now, when you go to do a big comedy festival like the one in Melbourne, there's too many comedians, so they don't have time to interview everyone individually. So what they'll do is they'll send out Q&As, and these are all the same questions everyone gets, and they're all the same questions like, where are you from, who are your favourite comedians, blah, blah, blah. Then there'll be wacky questions. I have no idea why journalists feel the need to do this with comedians. They'll ask a question like, oh, if your comedy show was a dog, what kind of dog would it be? I'm so wacky. Maybe I should be a comedian. What? Shut up. Now. I'm filling one of these things in, and I'm excited to do it, because I'm getting to go to Australia. It's a really big deal for me, right? And I get down to a question that's been personalised for me. It's clearly been personalised for me, because it's in a different font. It's clearly been inserted into an existing document. Sorry. The thing is, I knew that was going to happen, because there is always one person that laughs at the font joke. And then there is always a moment where the rest of the room is like, did she just laugh at the font thing? And I could take it out, but it's always such a nice moment between me and that one person. I always feel to give it in. The font was Calibri. So, it was in a different font. You could clearly tell it had been inserted into an existing document. And the question that these people had personalised for me was this. How come Christians are allowed to draw pictures of their prophets and Muslims aren't? To which the obvious answer is, I don't fucking know. My parents are Hindus. I got no idea why they would think I would know. Now, one of two things has happened here. Either these people have seen that I've got a foreign name and just thought, must be a Muzza, definite Muzza, Nish Kumar is a classic Muzza name. Or they think we have non-white people meetings where we assemble, set the non-white agenda for the year, and then retire to a screening room where we watch a DVD of Boys in the Hood. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, I told that joke on stage in a part of the country that is not as ethnically diverse as this. It made this room look like Lahore, right? And so There's a solid body of nervous-looking middle-aged white people here, me, and one black guy sat at an angle so the whole audience could see him, presumably because they were keeping an eye on him. And this guy decides to have some fun. Because when I mention non-white people meetings, he looks at the audience to make sure that they're looking at him and me, and then he just turns to me and goes... Oh! What a prank! You have not lived until you've seen a room full of middle-aged white people lose their shit because they came out for an evening's entertainment and ended up at the epicenter of the revolution. So, I didn't know what to put, because obviously this is a contentious subject. So I just put, oh, my parents are Hindus. I don't know. Right? But it wasn't enough. I wanted it communicated that there had been an infraction. They don't have the right to ask me that question, or they should at least do a little bit of research. Unfortunately, the rest of the questions were quite restrictive, didn't leave a huge amount of room for theological debate. Largely because the next question was, oh, if your show was grass, would you feed it to a horse? And I'm like, you can't jump straight back into whimsy after you've just asked me a serious question about religion. But then the last question left some room for improvisation. Because the last question wasn't a question. It was a task. They had given us the first half of a joke, and we had to supply the second half. And the first half of the joke was this. A book walks into a bar and sees a bookcase. Now, you can do whatever you want with that. Finish that joke in any way you see fit. This is how I chose to finish that joke. A book walks into a bar and sees a bookcase. The book says, hey, bookcase! How come Christians are allowed to draw pictures of their prophets and Muslims aren't? And the bookcase said, I don't know, because I am a bookcase. And as such have no knowledge of the intricacies of Islamic theology. I assume you're asking me because I'm a brown bookcase? In which case, go fuck yourselves. Kumar, you being served? A Nish in time saves Nish. And if you tolerate Nish, then your children will be next. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. You're a tremendous audience. It's a late start, and you've stayed with it. I really appreciate it. And I really want to thank you for being here. Like, this is a big deal for me, because the Soho Theatre has been my home for the last 5 or 6 years since I started doing solo shows. I started doing them here, and I've developed and evolved and learnt how to be a comedian here. So the fact that I'm filming this in here now means the absolute world to me, and I'm genuinely so happy that you were here to share it. Because this is such a big night for me, I'd just like to dedicate all of the jokes I've told to all the brave men and women who have given their lives fighting in all wars. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You're a great audience. Goodbye.